program that we've had where we've coached and trained nearly 100,000 people, both online and in a classroom environment, called social selling. And this particular version of social selling has to do with LinkedIn. And we understand is we have a variety of platforms on with us today. In the world of the new world of LinkedIn and social selling, what we found is we have found over time that just being able to generate good relationships and connect with people and use the information and the data that we've never really had access to in the past is that we're truly all connected, or better connected that we are. We understand how most of you work in a tier-based platform where you have relationships that are in certain accounts, and a lot of times when you have better relationships, when there's new contracts or new areas of the organization that you can be recommended, it's always best to get that recommendation from within the company. So we're going to show you some exciting techniques about how to use LinkedIn in your reference in your environment. And we've coached and trained hundreds of people at GE, and like I said, almost 100,000 people worldwide in a variety of instances. So what we do know is we know that social selling works, and it's a whole new way. So what we wanted to do was introduce this to you. We're also going to show you how GE has also given you access to a 4-part online training series after this. It's completely included. This whole group was selected for that training, and you have an option to pick from a couple of different start dates, as well as have online coaching. The other thing that we know is we know how social selling works in a career environment. We understand the transitions that are going on at GE, and GE understands those transitions too, and knows how important that your social network is in terms of carrying you to that next level. So what's cool about social selling is it just doesn't work in a sales capacity, but it also works in a career capacity. A lot of the same things that we teach related to getting hired and getting promoted and things like that also apply in social selling. So again, we're so happy to have you on, and look forward to you learning along the way. My name is DeLisle. I'm founder and CEO of Forward Progress, who is the company that is putting this on. And like I said, we are excited on your behalf to have GE be putting this program out to everybody that's on with us today. If you want to interface with us in terms of, we do have everybody muted because we're recording this session. We want you to be able to communicate. So we have a questions area in the GoToWebinar taskbar. If you guys could, just to help us out, I'd like to understand which platforms are on with us today. So if you could just type in quickly, you know, are you part of the leasing platform? Which platform are you with in terms of finance? So just let us know which groups that you're on in terms of sales, and that will help us out as we speak to context around this. So just go into the GoToWebinar taskbar, and if you can't see the taskbar or can't see our screen, basically you just click on the little daisy or flower in your status bar, and that will bring our screen to the top. So if you could just type into the questions area. So we have franchise on with us today, we have leasing on with us today, we have more franchise, fleet management, franchise, good, fleet, so a good mix of fleet and franchise with us today. Good, and so welcome again, and let's go ahead and get started. So one thing that we know with social networks is that everyone's at a different place with their LinkedIn. So, you know, as well as with other social networks, and there's changes each and every day. So one of the cool things about the program that you guys are part of is that not only do you get the education to work on what matters to you or what's relevant to your accounts and things like that, but you also get coaching along the way, because we all learn at different areas and we have all different skill sets on with us today. So if I were to ask you, you know, with social networks, are you, you know, with LinkedIn, or are you more on Facebook or Twitter, or in terms of your personal preference, like from a skill level, which social networks do you guys use on a regular basis? So just give me a hint in here if you could type in. So is it LinkedIn? Is LinkedIn the one that you're most proficient on? I have a lot of Facebook people on. I have some Twitter. I have even some Instagram folks in here today. So cool. So see, everybody's at a different place with skills. And what's sort of nice about this is LinkedIn is continuously evolving and people are evolving. So as we study corporate cultures and corporate environments, a lot of the accounts that you're in, people just tend to stick around or people tend to leave. And so we track that. We track the fact that when you're in an account, we don't just want you having a relationship with the one person, we want you having a relationship with the entire account, right? So maybe you come in and you're initially tied in with somebody that's in purchasing or buying, or somebody that's in charge of leasing in that area, and then all of a sudden you can connect and have a relationship with the CFO, and you can have a relationship with other people in that group. They have relationships within that organization, and you can really wire strong relationships just through social media in that aspect. And you also get visibility. You know who's in those accounts with you. You know who's, maybe at GE with you in those accounts, which other partners that you have that are external that are in those accounts. So we want you to understand the true power of this. It's not a matter of just connecting and doing some things, but we want you to understand the true power. And again, from a career perspective, there's nothing like it. A lot of people see it as a sort of a big resume, but it truly is a social selling tool. So with that being said, let's just talk about some fundamentals. So in social selling, it helps us in certain areas, not just from a reputation, but from a protection standpoint. So when we look at, how good we look, or if somebody checks us out, or we get referred into an account, or somebody's trying to decide us over a competitor, what happens is a lot of times they Google and they look us up, right? So some of you may be noticing that you get profile views. Well, in today's world with buying and people taking risk in buying and making a decision, they're not just developing a relationship with GE, they're developing a relationship with you. And so that's what we track. We track people that are on the decision-making side, again, within the clients, within the accounts that you're in, and they're actually looking you up. They're looking to see, who you are, and based on the internet, they're trusting that information is true. It also gives you visibility. So as you connect, even if you mildly connect within your social network, you still have a strong case of visibility within your accounts. And that's what we want. We want you to be known. We want people that when a buying decision is being made inside of one of your tiers, that all of a sudden another buying decision is made and they think of you, and another buying decision. And if somebody in that team tends to move to a company, who knows, that could be one of your next top tiers, right? That could be another account that moves you over. That happened to us this week. I had a large Fortune 500, I had a client, I had a whole team of people that I was connected to, I had a relationship. One of those people moved on, as many people do, and the relationship moved over to the new company, right? So now I still have my relationship with the old company, and I have my relationship with the new company. That's what I want for you. I want you guys to be able to have that connection and visibility within there. And then the referrals come and the new business. So we'll talk about some 5 easy steps to get you warmed up, and then we'll see which series makes sense for you guys to continue on with. And again, GE has this completely picked up. This is all part of you being personally selected to be part of a social selling program. And again, you can apply this to career. So as career changes are being made and things are happening, you guys can benefit this. So we like the fact that in referral-based leads that they're already warmed up, right? That's the coolest thing, is that leads are warmed up, trust is assumed, and they close faster. I was just talking with some other folks. I'm not sure if it was Fleet or not, but they were talking about how just based on relationships, some of the people that had come through our training class, based on those relationships and those connections, that they actually increased referrals, and their tier-based accounts actually increased, right? Because they went from tier 2 to tier 1, and they actually got into better relationship and higher close ratios because they did select a network. They did create a network within that account, right? So we're going to show you some cool things to give you that more instant visibility. And then again, as you select to go through the classes and the coaching, you can have as much of this as you want. So social networks that we already know, we always put it into context because it's interesting to see how people are wired or how they're connected. And you guys are so connected. Even if you only have like 100 connections or a few connections, you guys are still connected to what we call hubs, right? So we want you to be connected to industry hubs, client hubs. you know, if let's say you're doing business with Kraft Foods and that's one of your accounts, or you're doing business, you know, with another group, all of a sudden when you plug into that account, that's a social network. You are a social network. GE is a social network. So as you start looking at how you make a single connection, it has a ginormous impact in terms of how you are actually connected to your accounts. So we always want you to think, you know, like right now, just write down 1 or 2 professional organizations that you might be part of. Maybe it's a conference, maybe it's a group, maybe it's your alumni group, and make sure that when you're in LinkedIn and you're in your social networks that you connect to those groups. Even if you're not active in there, you can still be seen and you can still gain that visibility as being part of that group. Okay, so I want to make sure you guys are getting this. Ask questions along the way. Now this is the most critical thing to understand, right? It feels basic, but I'm telling you it's critical. When you guys make a connection, so let's say you go to your next, you know, you're going in to take an app, or you're going in to actually have a meeting at one of your accounts. When you have a meeting at one of your accounts, you know that you're connected to the person that you're meeting with, but sometimes there's other people in the meeting, and this is a huge, easy tactic that you can do right away. The minute you're sitting at the table or somebody else is at the meeting, ask them if they're on LinkedIn and go for that connection, because the power of more than just having that one-to-one is a huge relationship. It's a huge network. In fact, not only is it that impact of having that person that you're connected to, but you're wired to everybody that they're connected to. And that's what we're seeing. The people that actually intentionally connect to those targets within even just their accounts pick up more visibility in business and referrals from those connections, because the trust is already built, right? And we're going to show you some power moves here that you can use as part of this technique. So the other thing is, you know, how many connections do you guys believe you have on LinkedIn? I'm not looking for an exact number, but just type into the questions area. Do you think you have like 200, 500? I probably have some of my power users that are up around 1,000. Or, you know, you get the 500 plus in there, right? So you know you have more than 500. I've got some people being totally accurate, typing in exact numbers, right? So cool. So yeah, so it doesn't matter, because as long as they're targeted connections, you have the power of the degrees of connections within LinkedIn. So in my example, I had some people typing in 348, 325, 100. Well, if you have 387 connections, just like I'm showing on the screen, and again, if you need to switch back to our screen, you just simply click on the little flower or daisy and it'll pop up our screen, and it says the LinkedIn network at the top of our screen. It shows 387 connections. Well, with 387 connections, you are connected to roughly about 6.4 million professionals. And the way that looks is it looks like just like this diagram. Because I'm connected to Sue, if Sue has 300 some odd connections and they're targeted and they're in the fleet sector, right, then she's connected to Mark, who has 300 connections, and so on and so forth. So when you start looking at the dynamics or the power, if you pick up that other person at the meeting and the other person at the meeting and just add 2 connections, you're adding thousands of people in your network that could be that next tier, that next deal, that next referral, right? Because you have the visibility. And we're going to show you how to engage with that network here in a couple of minutes. So again, we're just giving you the highlights today, and then we're going to show you, you know, how to, you know, we're going to have you pick from one series or another that's in motion, so you guys can have access to that. To those classes as well as the coaching sessions. So the first step in social selling is looking good. I picked Brian here because I don't know if any of you know Brian, but as I started to look at commercial finance and I'm scanning, Brian's profile was like, bam, jumped right to the top, right? And I got his permission to use it. But you know, in terms of how you get to the top, you know, it's about having a complete profile. And in our class, we give you the exact keywords that you need to have for your section of business, right? So some of you are in commercial distribution, some of you are in fleet, some of you are in franchise. So what we want is there's people that are looking for you. So whether they're searching you out to look for the reference, right, to say, well, I just got Courtney, or I just got Deborah, or I just got Ken as a reference, I want to make sure that they, you know, I check them out. So I type them into the internet, or I look on LinkedIn. So whether they put you in Google or LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile is the first thing that pops up in Google, right? So we really want to make sure that you guys look good when they find you, because is they're going to click on that profile. That's how you get the profile views. So now that they look at you, you know, they're getting ready to sign the contract, they look at you, we want you to look good. So what we do is we help you optimize to get to the top. Now you can fill out as much as you want on here, and a lot of people get shy because they're like, well, who's going to read all this? Well, maybe one of your clients are going to read it, or one of your prospects are going to read it, but what's really important is the internet's going to read it, and they're going to decide where to put you in the search. So don't get don't get caught up in this now. We'll teach you this in the class in a little more detail. But if nothing else, make sure you're complete. Make sure you have a picture, and make sure you're very complete on what you do as part of a contributor to your network. Like you're a specialist, right, in commercial distribution. You know it better than anybody else. You're a specialist in fleet management. You're the one that provides those solutions, right? You don't just have one, you have multiple solutions. So we want to make sure that you express as much of that as possible, because people literally type those words in when they're looking for you. Okay, so you always want to answer those questions and you know, take it to that next level. So so real quick, I'm just going to run a poll on the screen, and this is just, and again, this is just a blind poll just so we can see the universe of folks that we have with us today. And it says, you know, do you have a complete profile in terms of, you know, the things that I'm talking about with keywords, and I'm talking about, you know, having a picture and having your history listed so that I can see that, you know, you've been working for quite some time, you have a great history, right? And a lot of the responses that I'm getting are no, not sure, and some people are yes. So what we teach you is a profile is a living and breathing thing, right? So thank you for everybody. I got 60% of you in, and 60% of you said yes, and the rest of you said no or not sure, just so you know where you're at. So I just updated my profile, and we do professional profiles all the time with the intent to get to the top. Well, the fact is your skills are building all the time. Your skills are changing, adjusting, improving, product lines come up, people are looking for new things. So the profile is a living and breathing thing. So once you get a good solid profile, and for those of you that said yes, you just don't want to set it and forget it. You want to make sure that, you know, you keep building on it, right? Because your skills keep building. Your network keeps building. Maybe your product lines change, your areas change, right? Maybe you shift areas. So you want to make sure you always have that put together. Okay, and so that's your professional profile. The other cool thing is that LinkedIn gives you other things. So some of you, I noticed, are bilingual, right? Some of you actually had listed some of your volunteering opportunities. You can also list projects. There's other cool things you can list in your profile. So just because, you know, you have your summary and you have your experience and you have your education, there's other things that can help boost your profile to the top. And again, when we get into you know, the other classes, we'll get you specific to what that means for you. But we always invite you to explore these areas in LinkedIn, and if you go to your profile, you just click on Profile, Edit Profile, and right underneath this main section, you can add other sections, and it'll walk you right through it. If you're not familiar, you can start experiencing that. Because if you think about it, can you guys type in, just whoever deals with charities or volunteering, just give me a sample of a charity that you guys deal with. I just want to see, you know, just want to use a real example here. So, you know, maybe a cause that you participate in or a charity that you work with. Give me a good example. So yeah, so okay, cool. Second Harvest Food Bank. I love that. So Second Harvest Food Bank. Food banks, organizations, we deal with you know, all kinds of organizations. Concern Worldwide is coming up. Let's see, World Vision. Well, those are all social networks, and you'd be surprised at the people that are all around you, at your clients, at your tiers, with your partners, and your social network that are connected to the same cause as you are. So this is extremely exciting when all of a sudden you find that commonality, right? That's how trust is built. So all of a sudden, I find out, Ken, that you're dealing with a food bank, and maybe I'm not part of that food bank, but I'm part of a food bank in my town. Right now we have something in common. We have something that we share. Trust is at a whole new level. So now all of a sudden, we don't just have the business side, you know, intact, but we also have this connection, right? Is a social connection. So that's what we want you to understand, that LinkedIn, even though it's professional, has some of these cool social things wired to it. All right. So again, I'm just giving you some samples here. So thank you for chiming in on the participation. This is huge. So number 2 is targeted connections. I talked about walking into your meetings, and as you're talking to people, right? So whatever the meeting is, you're talking to people, and if they're targeted, remember I said you don't have to have thousands of connections, but if you have a few hundred targeted connections, you're up to 6 million people, maybe in the leasing world, right? That could be super powerful, right, for both your career and for sales. So what we want you to do is when you're sitting at the meeting table is to simply ask people, are you on LinkedIn? Is it okay if we connect? And there's different techniques around adding people and making sure that you use the right language. It's always best if you can say, you know, how you've done business together or how you know each other. And as a default, if you want to just click on other, you know, it'll pop up the email address. And I'm sitting here with a business card at a client I was with yesterday, and I just type in the email address off the business card, and I just said it was great meeting you at the meeting. You always reference how you met. I include some personal info. I loved hearing about your vacation, and I'm looking to have that cup of coffee with you next week. How about Tuesday or Thursday? Do any of those work for a cup of coffee, right? And then I always add my phone number so they can easily pick up the phone and call me or text me, right? So just some simple things that you can do as part of building that social network. All right. The third thing is starting a conversation. Now, what I like what GE has done here is that, you know, when you actually share something or you post something, you're actually talking, you're having a conversation. So, so you want to understand that you want to really imagine that you're speaking to the target, right? So you've added the target, you know who your target is, right? You know that you're going after the CFOs, you know you're going after very specific people in these clients. You want to pretend you're sitting across from them and having that conversation. So what does that look like? Well, the cool thing is GE has the Genius system. How many people are using Genius? I love that system. I have to tell you, I use a ton of news aggregation systems and things like that, but the fact that you can log into Genius and see your tiers and find news about your clients, right, and tag your clients in the news and put that post up on LinkedIn, to me is huge. Right, and so we cover some of that and some routes to that in our coaching and training. Is anybody using the Genius system? I love that mobile app that you guys developed. So it looks like some of you are, some of you not yet. Okay, well, cool. Well, we can help route you to that, but it's a cool app. The second thing is GE also has LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So what this means is, let's say all of a sudden you're going into one of your commercial distribution clients, right? You're going in there and you connect to Joe Smith, right? Joe Smith is at the table and you connect to Joe Smith. Well, what it will do is it will tell you the other, you know, we'll show you how to do it without Sales Navigator, but you can go in there in the Sales Navigator, put your client in there. It'll tell you the whole social network of how you're wired inside that client. So you can go and know who your next piece of business, your next meeting is, and then you can flag those people as leads, and it'll tell you how to connect to them and everything else. So GE also has LinkedIn Sales Navigator, so you know we'll get you involved in some of that too. So again, is anybody using Navigator yet? So it looks like some of you were. Somebody chimed in here on Sales Navigator. Okay, so what you can do is, but again, we'll show you how to do it without Sales Navigator, without Genius, because we want you to have skills forever in LinkedIn, like I said. But the real piece around social selling is not just having the conversation, right? So I could walk in, I can sit at a meeting with you, you know, and I can connect to you, right, and I can start some conversations, but until I get to the table with you at a real meeting, it's not going to matter. So the other thing we want to do, so let's think about this. You've got a great profile, you look good, you're dressed up properly, you're connecting to targets, you're starting conversations. So maybe you're just sharing news about the industry. You're sharing news about, you know, ways to finance or leasing or you know, things about commercial distribution. There's all kinds of cool news that you can share out there. And the cool thing is LinkedIn gives you something called Pulse that you can subscribe to, that you can actually have all kinds of news served right up to you. But the next step is one of our power moves, which we love. We call set the hook. The idea is to convert, right? So when you have somebody that's in your social network that pops up that you're working with, and there's people in your network all the time, you know, you can flag people and you can really take them to that next level. The next thing is to make sure you set the hook, is to bring them up on your screen and to say, hey, listen, I haven't connected with you in a while, and to go inside that account even deeper and ask for the appointment, ask to catch up, ask to take it to the next level, and set the hook. So there's actually appointment setting techniques that you can try right now, that if you want to go into anybody that you've connected to, right? In fact, I want to show you something super quick. I'm just going to go to my LinkedIn, see if I can get there. You guys should see this in a moment. Okay, so when I go in there, and there's our buddy Mike Kunkel, so if I go in here, right, and I want to just pick somebody out and set an appointment, right, I can go into my connections where it says keep in touch, and I love this move, by the way. Let's get to this, and I can go to anybody, right, that I've recently had a conversation with, email or otherwise, within LinkedIn, and I can just go in here and pick the very best person and pick a conversation, right? And I can message that person, or because they're a first level connection, it'll give me their cell phone number and everything else, and I can set my meeting. So now all of a sudden I'm back to setting a meeting, to setting an appointment. And what I love about this, I just got back from New York. I went in and I found 5 key accounts that I wasn't in with yet, but I was connected on LinkedIn. And I booked meetings, and I got 5 of those meetings, and I have 3 proposals out of those meetings. So again, if you can get intentional and you can get targeted, you have the same capability to do that. Okay, and again, I'm showing you some ideas. I want each of you to pick at least one thing that you're going to do out of what I'm showing you, because I'm showing you 5. The last one out of this, and then I'll have you guys pick which group you want to be part of, but in terms of group networking, okay, so when we look at group networking, we look at 5 social selling things, okay? So what this looks like is you can search for anything, right? So as we look at searching, let's just go into a group. I'll go ahead and exit out of here. I'll show you guys live how this works. You can do this from your LinkedIn screen. You go to interest and groups, and let's say you have a finance group. I love the CFO or the CXO group. So I'm going to go to my CXO group. Here they are. And let's say I want to hear what people are saying about leasing. You know, we'll just say, you know, we'll do equipment leasing, right? And I want to get into conversations on equipment leasing. So I can do equipment. It always helps if you spell right. So equipment leasing, and I can look at my CXO group and I can say how many people are talking about equipment leasing. And I have conversations here that I can jump in. So the coolest thing is I can go into a group and I can decide, like a whole networking group, and I can say all these CXOs are in here. Who's talking about equipment leasing? Can I participate in that conversation? Yes, because I'm an expert, and guess what? Your great profile shows up on that, okay? So with that being said, let me summarize these, and then first of all, before I know some of you have to go, so I want to make sure, and we are recording this, so I have this recording, that the next steps are that if you guys, you know, want to dig in deeper on this, all you have to do is pick the next step. So we have a program that GE is sponsoring that you guys are already covered on, that what it looks like is we have a webinar series that's 4 parts that includes coaching and it includes e-learning support. So if you're on your mobile phone and you want to take it just like this, and you want to take, and it even comes with a social selling certification, so you can take easy e-learning sessions with a webinar series, and then you could have as many videos and coaching sessions as you want. We have 2 series that are running, and I'm going to take some of these questions. Some of you guys have some good questions coming in. So you pick your best dates, right? Because everything's recorded, so you don't have to be live at these, although we do like when you're live. There's Group C, which is a social selling webinar series. And then on top of this, you get access to the coaching and the other classes that are involved, the e-learning classes. So you can go Thursday starting on 7/9, every Thursday at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Central. So if Thursdays are good for you, you could do that. Or you can do Group D, which is social selling webinar series on Fridays, right, from 11 a.m. to noon Central Time. So I'm going to bring up, and it's as easy as clicking on this screen. So if I go pick which best fits your schedule, I'm going to launch, and all you have to do is click on the little flower, and you'll see that on the screen, and you guys just pick. I want to register for Series C, which starts on Thursdays, which is every Thursday starting in mid-July from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., or you guys can go to Group D, which is on Fridays from 11 a.m. to noon. Okay, so I'm going to cover a couple questions while you guys are selecting which group you want to be part of. Now, yes, Group C starts sooner, right? So you guys are on this. So a couple of the questions. So let's say I'm in a top tier account. I want to make sure I read this. I'm in a top tier account, and I want to increase my contracts at a top tier account. So what you would do is you would do like I explained. When you get into that top tier account, you want to actually connect to not just that one person, but what we'll do is we'll teach you how to do what we call network diving. So you go into network diving and you pick and select different people that are in that group that you want to sign those contracts with, and it'll tell you how close you are to the relationships. The coolest thing is that most of you are tied into those relationships already. You're like one person away from your next contract. You just can't see it. So what we do is we show you the visibility of how to see that. Yes, if you just want to click on the little daisy, you can get to the polling question. We'll automatically register you. So we have 40% of you registered. The rest of you just have to pick the best date. So C starts Thursdays, 7/9, July 9th on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So if Thursdays work out best, and again, if you miss it, we send you the recording. Plus you have the coaching sessions access, right? Group D is on Fridays from 11 a.m. to noon p.m. And you can take these on your mobile device. So we had the whole group in Mexico that was just taking these, and they all took them on their mobile device in Mexico. So that was cool. Okay, so let me take another question. Yeah, you're stuck on the quick poll screen because we're just waiting for everybody to do Andrew. Andrew, so tell me what other questions you guys have. So here's some more questions coming in. So give me a question specific to you. So think about that you're in a certain account. You want to get through. Let's say you want to get deeper into one of your accounts. Go ahead and ask some questions. Yes. Okay. So now you know that you have, so you have territory coverage, and this one is related to commercial distribution. Okay. So what happens is you want to find other commercial distribution folks in your area, right? So what we can do is there is a certain, again, this gets back to network diving, and as soon as everybody clicks on the screen here and we get I want to make sure we don't leave anybody behind on this class series because you guys were picked for this group. So I have 60% of you with class selection. So if you can, just click on the screen and then we'll get through those. So just in response to this question, so let's say you want to find other opportunities in your area and you know what type of businesses those are. You know the people that you want to talk to. So let's say your best person is the CFO. So what you want to do is you want to do network diving and sort of look for that CFO. So let me give you an example. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. We'll make sure those of you that didn't click get a link to make your selection. So we'll send you an email follow-up so you can do a one-click registration there too. Okay. So let's go back. I just want to show you that some of the details in the class too. We have Social Selling 101 that gets you through Foundation, which is a little more advanced than what we covered today. We have Network Building, which helps you create a powerful network. And then we have 301 and 302, which are advanced sales techniques. And like I promised you, you also get the Social Selling Black Belt certification along with this that you get to post in LinkedIn. Okay, so real quick, let me just show you, I'll just show you a screen here where you can do a little bit of network diving. So to that question in terms of how you're connected or how you're wired, I can go into my advanced search. And this is a simple one to do, by the way. So if I want to just see the CFOs, right, that are in my group, and I'll probably want current or past, and let's see how I'm connected. Do you guys want to give me a specific account so I can help maybe do a real example? So let's say you want to get to the CFO. Tell me which company you guys want to get to. So we'll see how we're wired. So again, this is probably outside my target link, but I'll take, give me a specific company that you guys want me to show you how to get into, and I'll give you an example. Okay, so all right, so all right, so let's say Boeing. Okay, so we'll do Boeing here. Right, so I want to get to the CFO at Boeing. Okay, so let's say that's within my territory, and I do a search. Now, again, this is, you know, I'm not connected to the CFO at Boeing, but I have 345 results based on my network, right? And I'm not in this business, right? And I could type in keywords like commercial, leasing, financing, right? So if I want to get more specific, maybe I don't need the CFO, but I want to see who I have at Boeing that's within that segment. Well, I can simply go in here and look at the CFO and see how I'm connected, right? So finance director, office of the CFO at Boeing, right? I have the VP and CFO of Boeing Global Support and Services. That's pretty good. And I have one shared connection, which is Lauren. I've got Lauren in here. Let's just see who else I have. See who I have. I don't have any first level connections because I'm not in that segment, but I have 48 second level connections, right? So now I have the opportunity to pick and choose my best opportunities to get closest to the CFO. And you can see here I have 1, 2, 3. I have Colin, Tom, and Eric, who are my connections. And what I would do is pick the best person to make that connection with and get that meeting. And I wouldn't necessarily go directly for Kent. I would tell them, I would meet with the people that I know to get to the people that I want to know. So this is something that you can do immediately, right? Immediately today. Okay, so I want to make sure. You guys are tied into this, and that you guys are okay with it. So, what other questions do we have that I can answer for you guys? Okay, going once, going twice. All right, did everybody learn at least one new little trick, one new little thing? So again, everybody's at a different level. I just want to know that everybody at least had one takeaway that you had. And it looks like that most of you took your selection with your class, but I just want to make sure everybody's good. And there's no more questions. Is it ever bad to connect? Kim has a great question. Is it ever bad to connect with someone that you don't know? No, it's not bad. But in terms of, we always recommend that you connect to people that you know or people that you have something in common with. Okay, so what you want to do is Kim, you just want to make sure that there's some level of connection. So for instance, on the example that I made, it would be bad form for me to just assume to connect to Kent or Chuck in this instance, okay? So that would be bad form for me to just jump in on that relationship because I would have no context for that relationship. However, that doesn't mean I can't connect to other people that I'm trying to connect with en route to that relationship. You just want to set some sort of context. So what we show you is part of what we call group diving is you have a relationship with people that are in a group with you. So if you're in any of the groups like what we were talking about, that is a good place to start. So I can go to Kent here, or I can go to Chuck. Let's just see if Chuck, depending on his profile, if he belongs to any groups. Now he's Bulldog Forever, he's Truman State University, so he doesn't have any groups. He does follow some companies in common. So what I would do is I'd probably go to Kent and see if Kent is has any groups that he belongs to. So I'll look, and he's part of PwC US Alumni, Chief Financial Officers, Price Waterhouse, the Modern Finance Group. So there's 38,000 people in here, of which are probably CFOs. and you can go in here and connect to people at here. So you could connect to him through this group, just like a common networking group. Another question to come in, is it acceptable to connect with people? See, if you guys get into your coaching sessions, you can ask these questions all the time. So I just want to make sure, I'm excited for you guys to be part of this. Is it acceptable to connect with people you have viewed that have viewed your profile, even if you have no idea why they viewed their profile? $1 million question, Ken. So what I say is I say yes. You know, there's a reason that they connected to your profile. However, you know, if you're on the free version, you would have to connect to them in order to talk to them or be in a group with them in order to talk with them. So what I would say is yes, I would say boldly go. If it's somebody that you feel is a good targeted connection, absolutely. But I wouldn't just connect with them. Make sure you go for the conversation. So if it's a valid connection, and this goes to Kim too, if it's a valid connection, go to talk to the person. Right? This is a networking event. Think of LinkedIn as a networking event, and we want you guys to have the full power of connecting with people. But don't just take the connection, take the meeting, take the call, right? See what's really under the hood, especially if you go there and you see that they have a powerful network. In fact, we're going to show you in the class how to dig into somebody's network and see what's really under the hood and who they have in their network. Then you know it's worth the meeting, Ken. And then I would say, yeah, once you establish the meeting, go for that deeper connection, okay? Let's see, Kim is in here. It seems I get random requests from people I don't. Yeah, we all do. I find myself ignoring these requests because I can't find anything in common, and I don't know what type of bad reputation that could bring me. I don't think it's going to bring you a bad reputation. I mean, unless you're connecting to hundreds of people and you can't track. But if you're picking off people, it sounds like you do the responsible thing and you basically connect to people, right, that you know. And what you're asking about is that you get these inbound requests. So I have some in the queue here, right? And I have people that are up here. I have 9 of them. And so what I do is I look to see what, you know, who's in those requests, right? And I don't just, you know, randomly pick the pending invitations. There's times, right, when I make a choice and I'm looking at this, and what I'll do is I'll respond, and I might go, David, thank you for the intention to connect to me. I'd love to see, you know, why you want to connect. You're right. So, you know, just curious, why do you want to connect? And so what I'll do, Kim, is I'll ask that. I'll ask, you know, why do you want to connect with me? You know, and so what's interesting is I get some phenomenal responses, and some of my best connections and best leads have come from that ask, because I think far too many times people are just massively connected to folks and hoping to get into the company or get the business. But it's all about the relationship. People are signing deals with you because they like you, or, you know, they might like your product, they might like GE, but they like you. That's how you move along in career. That's how you move along in sales. And my top producers in this, I guarantee you, are functioning off their relationships and their referrals because of that. Does that help, Kim? I want to make sure I answered your question on that. I know we ran over a little bit. I just want to make sure. So if any of you missed the little part on the screen where you clicked, and you do want to pick one of these, you just type in the letter C or D in the questions area. And in case you missed the polling question that was up asking you about which class you wanted to be on, because we can't execute that registration system. So if you say that you want to start in the C series of classes on 7-9, which are on Thursdays at 10 a.m., or if you want to start on 8-7, just type in the letter D in the questions area. Any more questions? And Kim, I want to make sure I answered your question on that. Okay, cool. So Ken wants to be part of C. All right. So let's see, Joel and Lisa, make sure you pick up Ken on that that registration, and we're good to go. All right, you guys, and you also get the e-learning with the social selling black belt certification. You also get coaching sessions, and you will get the career and sales support classes. And you can move at your own pace on this too. If you ever miss a class, you get the recording, and you can always switch. If you select C, you can always pick D. If you pick D, you can always go back to C. So we let you switch back and forth too. All right, everybody. Well, thank you. Hopefully everybody learned something new, and I want to thank GE for allowing this program for all of you to attend. So with that being said, go on social selling and looking great, and we will see you in the upcoming classes. Take care, everybody.